Picture this. You wake up one morning and every newspaper in the country says you are worth $4.1 billion. Your name is on the buildings. Your family's logo is on the letterhead. The lawyers are already calling. The trustees are already meeting. And then, before you can say a single word, someone hands you a 312-page document that tells you the same thing in legal language. You own all of it. You just can't touch any of it. Not for 8 years. Now ask yourself, what would you do? Most people would wait. Most people would take the $11,000 a month allowance, keep quiet, and count down the years. Caden Hargrove was 22 years old, had just buried his father, and was handed exactly that choice. He did not wait. He found one sentence, buried in Schedule D, Appendix 3 of a document nobody expected him to read, and he used it to dismantle the entire structure before he turned 25. This is how he did it. Stay with me. Caden Hargrove is 22 years old, stands alone at his father's graveside in a $6,000 suit that was chosen for him, and thinks a single thought: he owns nothing. Sterling Hargrove built a $4.1 billion industrial conglomerate from a Connecticut machine shop. His final act was a will designed, as his estate lawyers later described it, to protect the legacy. Caden inherits everything at 30. Until then, a board of 5 trustees controls every dollar, every vote, every decision. Caden cannot sell a painting. He cannot hire a driver. He cannot liquidate a single share. The golden handcuffs snap shut the moment the coffin is lowered. The 5 trustees convene the first post-funeral board meeting. Caden is invited to attend as an observer. He is not given a seat at the table. The board, Priscilla Hargrove, his father's second wife, who controls 3 proxy votes. Gerald Fenn, the family's chief counsel for 30 years. 2 institutional fund representatives who have never met Caden. And Dr. Alan Schreiber, his father's former college roommate, the only trustee who looks at Caden with anything resembling regret. 5 people. 1 agenda. All of it designed to last 8 more years. Caden sits in a chair by the wall and takes notes on everything. Caden reads every page of the will himself. He reads it 3 times. He marks 47 passages. The will runs to 312 pages. It covers everything: capital distributions, board voting thresholds, trustee removal procedures, amendment clauses, and, buried in Schedule D, Appendix 3, one sentence Caden reads 4 times. Any beneficiary who demonstrates full financial competency, as unanimously recognized by the trust board, may petition for early release of inheritance at no earlier than age 25. He circles it. He takes a photograph. He begins reading the trustee bios again from the beginning. The board approves Caden's monthly living allowance, $11,000. His father's cable TV bill was more than that. $11,000 is not poverty. It is, however, a number designed to communicate something. The estate generates $180 million annually. Caden's allowance represents 0.07% of that. Priscilla Hargrove moves the amount. Gerald Fenn seconds it. The institutional funds abstain. Schreiber votes against it. It passes 3-1. Caden receives the notification on his phone in the waiting room. He goes for a walk. He walks for 3 hours. He is not angry. He is taking inventory. Caden enrolls in a 2-year accelerated program in corporate law and trust litigation. The tuition is approved by the board as a legitimate expense. They approve it unanimously. He does not tell them why. The enrollment form asks for a field of study. He writes, Trust Law and Estate Administration. Gerald Fenn sees the approval and chuckles in a board call. Caden is watching the recording of that call on his laptop 12 hours later. He saves the clip. He labels it File 001. Caden locates Margot Delacroix, a retired trust litigation attorney who spent 30 years dismantling exactly the kind of control structures his father built. She is 71. She does not take new clients. She takes 1 meeting. He flies to Chicago on a Wednesday. He arrives at her office with the will, the meeting transcripts, and a yellow legal pad of questions. She reads the will for 40 minutes without speaking. Then she looks at him. She says, Your father loved you and didn't trust you. That's not unusual. What's unusual is this. She points at Schedule D, Appendix 3. She says, This is a door. But it has 5 locks. And each trustee holds a different key. Caden constructs a dossier on each trustee. Not a surveillance file. A psychology file. Each person's motivations, fears, loyalties, and the specific thing they want that the estate can provide. Priscilla Hargrove wants social legitimacy. She was never fully accepted by the family's old money circles. Gerald Fenn wants his legacy secured. He is 68 and building his memoirs. The 2 fund representatives want returns, pure, clean, institutional returns. And Schreiber wants one thing: to have done right by his old friend's son. Caden reads these 5 profiles every morning for 2 weeks. Then he begins. Caden invites Alan Schreiber to dinner. Not to ask for anything. To listen. He asks Schreiber about his father, not the businessman. The man. Schreiber talks for 2 hours. He tells stories Caden has never heard. His father at 26, broke and building, making promises he wasn't sure he could keep. By the end of the dinner, Caden understands something his father could never say out loud. The will wasn't punishment. It was his father's fear, fossilized into legal language. Schreiber picks up the bill. At the door he says, "What are you going to do?" Caden says, "Prove I don't need protecting." Schreiber nods slowly. He has already decided which way he'll vote. Caden submits an unsolicited 40-page investment analysis of 3 underperforming Hargrove assets, with proposed restructuring plans and projected 5-year return improvements. He delivers it to the 2 fund representatives directly, bypassing the board process entirely. The analysis is correct. The recommendations are better than anything the current portfolio managers have produced in 2 years. Fund Representative 1 reads it over a weekend. She emails Caden on Sunday evening, 3 questions. He answers them in full within the hour. Fund Representative 2 requests a call. The call runs 90 minutes. Neither of them mentions the trust. Neither has to. Numbers speak a language that supersedes everything else in that room. Priscilla Hargrove controls 3 proxy votes and will never be persuaded by financial analysis, legal argument, or personal appeal. Caden studies this for 6 weeks before he finds her actual leverage point. Priscilla has spent 8 years trying, and failing, to be accepted by the Hargrove Foundation's charitable board, the most socially prominent philanthropic institution associated with the family name. The board has quietly blocked her twice. Caden holds no power over the foundation, but he knows 2 of its members personally. He arranges 1 introduction. He facilitates 1 conversation. He says nothing about the trust. He does not need to. Priscilla receives the foundation appointment 3 weeks later. She sends Caden a card. The card says, "You are more like your father than you know." Priscilla Hargrove stared at the appointment letter for a very long time. 8 years. 8 years of trying to enter a world that had always kept her at arm's length. And now, somehow, the door had opened. 3 weeks later, a handwritten card arrived at Caden's apartment. 1 sentence. "You are more like your father than you know." Caden read it twice. Then he placed it inside the dossier. 3 trustees had now shifted. Schreiber, the 2 fund representatives, and now perhaps Priscilla. But 1 man remained. Gerald Fenn, the architect of the very trust designed to control him. The man who had spent 30 years building the cage. And Caden had just realized something terrifying. To win his freedom, he would have to convince the architect to help dismantle his own masterpiece.